So far today we've been through guardianship and able accounts, and now we're shifting gears toward assistive communication. So this is Elizabeth Bortz, and you can read her bio in your book, but I will tell you that she went to Loyola, which is a great school here in Maryland, because Jenny went there. And she's a speech-language pathologist. She's an expert in assistive communication technologies, and she's also been involved in things like feeding and swallowing disorders, which affect many of our kids. And I never quite figured this out, but somehow they fall into the the area of the speech-language pathology people. And I don't care how that works, but I'm glad we have them because we very much need them. I think many families here probably like my experience, where getting Wendy to eat in infancy was very difficult. And of all the deficits our kids have, probably communicating their wants and needs tends to be one of the most challenging.
All right, so I am extremely honored to be able to speak with you today and talk about something that's very near and dear to my heart as a speech pathologist, but also as a friend to many families and individuals that I serve that do require assistive technology. So thank you for having me, and you are a wonderful group. I've been really enjoying getting a chance to talk to different families and over the course of this morning, so thanks again for having me. These are my two cuties, Morgan and Owen, and one of the things that I've learned as a speech pathologist is I cannot begin to imagine what my child is thinking. I can guess, and sometimes I'm right, and a lot of times I'm not. I think one of the most alarming statistics that I ever heard from a speech pathology perspective was when individuals were polled that used assistive technology by caregivers, they ended up reporting that their caregivers reported inappropriate things that they wanted 90% of the time. That's a really alarming kind of percentage when we think of how many times if we're guessing, we might not quite get it right. And that's why I think it's so important that each child that's here or young adult that's here really does have a consistent means to effectively communicate their specific thoughts. And so we're going to be talking about solutions for that today. I do always do the disclaimer. And it's something I say frequently, but it's true. You guys might have even heard me say it today. I had a love affair with the Prinky Romick Company, or PRC, long before I ever worked for them. One of the things that I always kind of just point out is I do work for the Prinky Romick Company, but we're going to be talking about, this isn't going to be device specific. This isn't, I'm trying to push a device on you by any means. We're going to talk about lots of different assistive technology strategies that you can hopefully go home and implement later this afternoon or when you get back to your hometown as well. I just kind of want to let you know, these are my guys now. That was just a couple years ago, and time flies, and from a language building perspective, time just does quickly elapse. And I want every day to be counting for the kids that you're working with, and you be working on building that language capacity every day too, consistently. So we're going to talk about strategies to make that happen. My goals for you guys today, I always kind of, so that you know what we're going to be targeting, is looking at one low-tech strategy. I'm going to share with you a couple, but I definitely want you to know my favorite that I think is really effective and something that you could pass back to the schools or the service providers that are working with your kids. We're also going to just kind of quickly dive into alternative access for kids who may need eye gaze or head tracking or a different means of accessing communication. And then we're going to explore a couple different language solutions and vocabulary options, okay? And I hope everybody leaves here with a really firm understanding of what assistive technology, or AAC, is, and some strategies to help support its use. Okay, so we're going to kind of dive into what is AAC. So the governing body for speech therapists, like myself, is ASHA. And we define that as any type of assistive technology that would allow there to be us to compensate for like a short-term or long-term type of communication gap or speech or communication disorder, all right? So that could be vocalizations for a child, it could be gestures, it could be signing, it could be a low-tech board, it could be an iPad. There's tons of different communication solutions available, okay? And all of those would be under the umbrella of AAC, all right? When we're looking at kids specifically who would benefit from AAC, and this is probably not news to you by any means, but children who are not speaking Kids who don't have that physical support, they might have low tone, or they just don't have the musculature to support natural speech. Children who really should be speaking more. So there's been a couple parents here that I've talked to today whose child may be a verbal communicator, and mom or dad or grandma can understand what they're saying, but if I walked up to them as a random stranger, or they were in Walmart or Target and needed something or got lost, that other individual wouldn't be able to necessarily understand what they're saying. So those were those kids who should be speaking more, or that their speech isn't as clear as it would need to be understood by novel communicators, okay? Other kids who can benefit from AAC would be those who might have 10 words verbally. So they could say bathroom, or they might be able to say bathroom, eat, go, play, more, but they really don't have a lot more than that. And that's really not enough to get across everything that they're wanting to say, okay? Or everything that they're thinking. All right, so we're gonna kind of dive into some low-tech strategies first, and then we'll kind of move towards high-tech strategies as well, okay? Is that me? Sorry. All right, so some no-tech strategies. I think the use of conventional signs, I think this is just an easy thing to kind of at least model for your kids. It's a universal accepted, like, yep, this is good or it's not good, right? It's a fast, easy way to get your child to participate in school too. What do you think about that story? Did you like it or not like it? It's just a really fast way to get kids to participate. What'd you think about dinner? What'd you think about the new song Beyonce did? You're getting a chance to give feedback and just promote that communication. I value what you have to say, and I want to hear your input and get them in the habit of contributing to that. I think is really important, okay? I work with lots of families whose child doesn't necessarily have a really good yes-no. And some of you may have kiddos who have a really, their yes and their no, or they can verbalize that. But I work with lots of families who don't necessarily have that really clearly defined too. So I always say that I think probably the easiest way to teach that for kids is yes, is I'm looking at you, I like what you're saying. No's, I look away. And I'm kind of ignoring that. So that's a really good, just fast, easy, like I can actually, if they can't do this, or they might not have the head control to actually do that nod, you can say, okay, well, keep looking at me if you like what I'm saying, and look away when you don't. So that could be a yes, no, okay? There's some non-conventional things. I haven't had a tremendous amount of success teaching this, but I have certainly taught that to gain attention for kids who might have low motor control. If they want to get attention, to say, hey, I have something I want to say, I have taught them to do some alternative ways to gain attention as well, okay? Whether that's ringing a bell, there's lots of different things to say, hey, I have something to say, or a Big Mac, something like that too. Certainly could serve that purpose. Or raising their hand, lots of different choices. So my favorite no-tech strategy that we're gonna talk about today is the touch point strategy. And could I actually borrow you? Yep. Okay, so the touch point strategy means I'm just going to touch two different body parts that the child can actually move. Yeah, come on up for me, if that's okay. Sorry to put you on the spot. No, I'm gonna touch your shoulders. All right, if that's okay. All right, so the touch point strategy would be anything that the child could actually physically move. So if I can move my shoulder, I could use shoulders. If they're a child who's gonna use a switch, whatever, to actually hit the button to actually make it say something on a communication device, I would mirror whatever their switch access was. If they can use their hands, maybe we'll start with hands and then I'll do shoulders too. But I could use any type of hands, and I'm just gonna, as I touch that body part, I'm gonna give them a choice. So can you put out your hands for me? All right, and I'm gonna just give you choices, and then you're gonna tell me, you can just kind of move your arm up, or you can hit my hand, whenever with this choice that I give you. So do you prefer chocolate or vanilla? Which one? Vanilla, all right. And if I was holding, I'm gonna pretend that this is my extra hand, okay? I would keep my hands over them, right? And so you'd say vanilla, okay? Do you live in Maryland or out of state? Out of state. Do you prefer winter or summer? Winter, it's too hot here, right? Okay. Do you have any children? Yes or no? Yes, okay. All right, so we know now that you like winter, right? You do not live in Maryland, and you do have children, okay? So I can quickly be able to use that. I could do that same thing if I was touching his shoulders. I would just keep both of my hands there, and I can't do that. Again, I'm not used to holding a microphone, so sorry. But I would provide those two choices by actually touching, okay? The reason why we actually do the touch versus just provide that, and you can go sit. Thank you so much, I appreciate it. The reason why we actually do that touch is it's providing feedback. So typically you'll get an improved response. You're providing that additional sensory input. So it's just a fast, easy way to get kids to participate. Okay, so these require no technology. I don't have to have a picture symbol. I don't have to have a low-tech board. I don't have to have anything except my hands to be able to actually provide that. So this is also something that I share. If your child ever has to go to the hospital, hopefully not, but if they have to go to the hospital for anything, share that with the nursing staff so that you can say, hey, when, do you hurt or is everything okay? Does something hurt or is everything okay? You're providing those choices versus, yes, no questions are only as good as we ask them. So, are you not feeling good? Like, yes or no? I mean, I said not. So are you feeling good? That's a much simpler question, but are you not feeling good? Like that's more cognitively a more cognitively complex question. So they're only as good as we ask those questions, okay? So keeping our yes, no questions when we do ask them, keep them simple, is a really good rule of thumb too. All right. When in doubt, I try to avoid yes, no questions personally as a speech therapist, just because I find most people aren't great at asking them, myself included sometimes. So. All right, I bet you guys will catch yourself asking yes, no questions, and you'll be like, oh, that was a tough one to answer, now that I said that. So a couple other no-tech strategies or low-tech strategies are just using a low-tech board. And I firmly believe no matter what system your child has, so if they have Proloquo to Go, or if they have an accent device, or they have the LAMP app, or they have TouchChat, whatever they have, I firmly believe, and I'm not the only one in this field, that firmly believes you need to have a low-tech backup for that as well. So the low-tech backup, just the easiest version would be to take a screenshot of it, print it out, and laminate it. And I think you should definitely be using it. So if the device goes down, or you're at the pool, where your lovely high-tech technology really doesn't work great at the pool, right? Can't get wet. Or in the shower, those kind of things, you have still an effective means to communicate, okay? And this is a great thing. We're going to talk about modeling later on, and this is one of the, I think, great resources to help kids and be able to learn their words and have adults model for them, okay? Again, this can come in lots of different shapes and sizes. Whatever their home screen is a great way to have that quick low-tech backup, okay? Some high-tech solutions that PRC specifically offers are the accent devices, and a lot of you got a chance to kind of explore different solutions that we have earlier today. A ton of folks have high-tech solutions on the iPad platform as well, right? I think that's probably the most widely used type of assistive technology because almost everybody has an iPad, or they have an Android app, or they have something, so it's so readily available. And we'll talk about kind of exploring those nuances and why you might select one for your child over the other, okay? I'm gonna quickly just touch base about direct selection options. So direct selection is doing anything with your finger, okay? So if I'm touching the screen, if your child's touching the screen, they are a direct selector, okay? You can also sometimes help improve their access with using a key guard or using a touch guide, and that would be where there's little holes on the screen. Really helps lots of kids improve their access. And it also gets if you have a child who kind of has a tendency to rest their hand on the screen, it really helps prevent that too, so that they're making those choices and not frustrated, like, why isn't it activating? So those touch guides or key guards are great. Using a mouse or a joystick for some kids can be really effective. Using head mousing, which is where if they have good head control, they might not have good hand control, but they can move their head, then their head could act like a cursor, just like I was using it on my computer. And they could make selections like that, or using eye gaze. And a couple families got a chance to explore eye gaze today. Eye gaze technology's come a long way, and it's drastically different than what it was even 5 or 6 years ago. So it's really easy to use now. I think it's really user-friendly. It's come a long way, okay? So all of those options are considered direct selection. All the indirect options are going to be switch access. So I could have one switch or two switch. But if my child needs to use a switch in order to communicate, so if this is a switch, I'm going to say move, 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 and then select with my other switch. That would be using indirect selection. Okay, just so you can kind of know different access methods that might work. I work with a lot of individuals who have visual and hearing impairments, and also motor movement impairments, and they do great with switch access. So just exploring alternative access is really important. I think anytime we're looking at figuring out a good assistive technology solution for a child with a complex body, we need to be getting a really highly qualified professional involved that really knows assistive technology. I personally don't think this is the time to just pull in your like regular school-based speech pathologist. You know, they might be great when it comes to language intervention, but when it comes to assistive technology, if your child has a complex body, you need to go to somebody who's an expert at this and knows every system out there so that they're really exploring the best solutions for your child. For families who kind of stopped by and visited me earlier, I'm going to try to connect them. You know, if you feel like your child does need an AAC evaluation, I'm going to connect you. So there's still some cards in the back, but I would love for, and my brochures are out there too, so you can just take a brochure and email me, and I'm not signing you up for an AAC eval or anything, but I'll connect you with the person in your territory who would say, this is a really great therapist. You know, and it has nothing, no connection with us. We just really trust their judgment as a clinician. They're really good, and we can help point you in the direction to at least get your child evaluated by someone. That's across the entire U.S. Yep. I mean, we don't have anybody currently serving Alaska, but aside from that, yeah. We even have Hawaii, so yeah, but I think it's really great. You know, the families that I was mentioning again, you know, you guys have probably, for those of you that have school-age children, you know, not all teachers are created equal, not all speech pathologists are created equal, you know, and some have different expertise and are just amazing, and that's who I want you to have for your child that's going to do an AAC evaluation. So if anybody's in Maryland or Delaware, those are my states, and I will gladly point you in the direction of a really great AAC evaluator. There's a bunch, and I, you know, depending on your insurance and things like that, I can help guide you. Okay. So as far as some kind of high-tech examples, and I think one of the things that we all do what we know. So if you're a mom and you tell me about this great solution that's working for your child, now I know about it, right? So we end up kind of, I think, arbitrarily sometimes just doing what somebody else did because they said it was good, instead of really looking at long-term growth of a child. Like, what do they need long-term? Not just this minute, and we need to have a tool that works for this minute, but also that's gonna allow them, their language to grow without having to change the tool, right? Like, changing the tool all the time is not good. Like, right, you know, it's like me taking out your phone. You got a brand new iPhone, and then like 2 months later, I switch you to an Android, and then I switch you to a Samsung, and then I switch you to an LG. Like, how good are you gonna be at using that phone? Right? You're gonna be like, I don't know whether I swipe left, you know, like I don't know what to do. And I think that's the same thing for a lot of the kids that we serve with AAC. We need to figure out a good solution. That's why I'm saying you do need to find a good evaluator. And the PRC consultants are not evaluators. So like, I am a speech pathologist, but I can't make device recommendations because I work for PRC. So I can just connect you with a really good resource, and if they end up recommending a PRC device, then I'm your person. You know, for Maryland, Delaware, I'm their person, and I would come and provide free training and support to the families and all the people that they're serving. So, and their support team. So that's just kind of how that works. So finding a good person is really key. And you need to find a good person who knows all the language systems, okay? So Unity is one that we offer exclusively with our devices. Word Power is the uniformer, or it's across all device manufacturers. Everybody has Word Power or a version of it. So knowing, you know, like if your child is really has fantastic literacy skills, Word Power could be a great solution for them. If they are a child who really benefits from icons and text and really benefits from consistency, like they love sameness. Unity is like incredible because it really keeps things consistent, okay? And for some adults or like children who are incredibly literate and love to spell, like they're just passionate about spelling, Essence is another vocabulary solution that we offer that is all text-based. So, you know, again, that may or may not apply. Most of the kids that, from what parents were talking with me today, most of the kids that I said, like, if I was coming and I was going to work with you, I would probably try I would say almost 90% on some type of Unity vocabulary, just if I was going to be there at the consult. But several kids, I think, would have also benefited from word power, too. So just depending on where they are. All right. One of the things that I'm going to show you a video a little bit later of a therapist working with a little boy named Matthew, and she's using the LAMP vocabulary, and which is part of the Unity. So Unity has a bazillion solutions within that family. So, you know, I showed you just word power on the screen, right? Word power comes in lots of shapes and sizes. You know, it's not just all text, it also comes with pictures. So knowing an evaluator who's gonna really say, here's all my options across all device manufacturers, here's really what the best vocab solution is for them, that's why it's really important to go to a good person, okay? You're not gonna know that probably, you know, off the top necessarily as a parent. You know, as a speech pathologist, that took me years to kind of navigate and really like figure out when I'm feature matching, what is gonna be the best fit for a child, okay? So one of the vocabs that I think PRC is pretty widely known for, and there are a couple of individuals here who are using the LAMP vocabulary, but this vocabulary is 100% pure motor planning. So like you have a motor plan for saying the word stop or play or like with your mouth. The LAMP vocabulary and Unity vocabularies have that same thing. So they say it's like one way of saying the word like, one way of saying the word play. It's not like I swipe on this page and it's going to be this word here. It's always consistent on that home screen. I'll show you some examples of that in a little bit. Okay? But the reason why I'm saying that is if you keep things consistent, your child will typically make progress. Okay? Consistency matters. It matters tremendously. I hated assistive technology. So little like kind of fun fact, really like surprising because I'm now like, you know, I do AAC all day, Monday through Friday and sometimes Saturday, Sunday. So, but I hated it as a clinician, as a speech therapist, because every client I ever worked with did terribly with it, like terribly with it. Which, that being said, I wasn't using, I feel like, and there's lots of good vocabulary solutions on the market in addition to what we offer. But the ones that I was using with clients, both adults and pediatric clients, really, they just were not getting. Like they were making such little progress, and they were so frustrated. They couldn't say what they wanted to say. And I think a huge, you know, now like hindsight, looking back, it's because the screen changed a million times, and they had to navigate a million times back. It was so cognitively complex and visually complex. There was nothing automatic about what they said. And I think that's something that, you know, I as a clinician, when I started saying, you know, this doesn't add up. Like this, you know, I'm having to visually scan, and I've used this, and I have intact cognitive skills and intact motor skills, and I've got all these, you know, assets, but I'm still having to visually scan. I don't have that, and I'm like, you know, my child who is struggling to visually scan, and it's hard for them to keep their attention to task. Imagine how much, and they might have a hand tremor or something like that. Imagine how much more complicated and taxing that would be for them. So consistency is a big deal. I fell in love about 13 years ago with assistive technology when I found the Unity vocab. And again, there's lots of other choices out there that are good too, but that's when it was the first thing I ever saw that was consistent. And I loved it because I saw kids quickly learn language. Like they went from like chucking the device at my head and biting me and lots of, you know, behaviors that aren't like ideal, to telling me in words consistently how they were feeling because they could, because it didn't move on them, which was a huge change. So I think consistency is a really big deal. Okay, I'm going to show you a quick video. Hopefully it works. It was working just a minute ago. But we're going to talk about, I love this video. This is the one that I was telling you about with Matthew. He is adorable, but, and he has autism, and I wish I had a video, so hey, any of those Maryland, Delaware folks, I would willing to drive to PA probably too, but I would love to have some videos of me coming and working with your child too, because, you know, I don't want to have to, I hate that I have to play a video that doesn't necessarily specifically relate to you, but this is, I feel like, at least a good flavor of what I would want to see from an intervention standpoint, okay, using assistive technology. So, all right, so this is Matthew.
Stimulated. You know, initially, when you have a child that's nonverbal, people often ask, well, you know, how do they communicate? And I always say my goal, yes, I want Matthew to be able to talk. But I had to broaden my horizons and, you know what, you want him to be able to communicate.
Do you want this? Do you want this? Do you want your drink? I started working with Matthew several years ago. There you go. I'm Sarah Beth Schaff, and I'm a speech-language pathologist here at Trellis School. When he wasn't talking and he wasn't able to imitate at that time, I decided it was time to implement another functional mode of communication for him. So we started with a picture exchange communication system, which is very widely known.
Popcorn. That was probably the first time in his life he had functional communication.
Across a variety of contexts that really worked for him.
He was doing really well with PECs, and as a result, that's why we asked for, could we possibly, you know, use an assisted technology device to help him with communication.
We decided, you know, to go ahead and explore. That is my only, I love this video, but that's always my disclaimer, and I meant to say that at the beginning. I have a ton of kids that I work with who, I'm going to say bomb PECs. Like, they hate PECs. Like, and I have lots of kids who've used PECs and have loved it and have gone on to do great things with the high-tech AAC too. But that does not, you don't have to have one to do the other, okay, successfully. Just because they're doing PECs doesn't mean they're going to do high-tech AAC well, and vice versa. I have a ton of kids who, I mean, literally never got PECs. They never got it. They weren't exchanging it. They never really exchanged, but they are rocking high-tech AAC, and having that auditory output with the device has changed everything. So, sorry. Thank you.
Cookie.
Yum. The beauty of this device is the capacity for him to communicate is vast. You want to start with the core. We use core vocabulary words. Core vocabulary words are words like eat, drink, stop, play, go, more.
Eat.
Here you go. It speaks, so he speaks.
Drink.
Drink! Here's your drink. You want to play? You find places where they're most motivated. You put the core into it.
Go.
You want to go? Let's go!
Go.
Good job! Go! Hey, my turn. Can I have a sit? Today he was doing well with the word turn.
Turn.
It wasn't taking as much prompting as it sometimes does, so then I wanted to increase the difficulty. I add words while I'm working with him. So I want to add the word my. So I just went ahead and added it. So now I have the word my, so I can do my turn.
Turn.
It increases the amount of hits you're going to push, and it's a little bit harder.
My. Turn.
My turn. Here you go. These devices on a typical day are with him all the time.
Come.
The speech therapist needs training on it, and then the family also needs training on it. One of the best things about this device is it's dynamic, so it's changing with us all the time. So we can work with the displays and make it fit exactly what we're trying to teach him.
Cookie.
Eat cookie, good job. That was really exceptional. He said eat cookie. He said the whole phrase completely independently. And that was 4 hits. So the first time today when he was eating cookies, I've never seen him eat those cookies. I could tell he loved those cookies. So in the moment, I want yum on there. Yeah, you want to say yum.
Yum.
Cookies are yummy. So now in this moment, we've we've started using 2 comments, which is something we're working with Matthew on, saying like and yum. And that's really important for him not to just be requesting using the device, but using it for a variety of communicative intent. What do you want?
Cookie.
Cookie. And when the next time he ate cookies, he was very pleased with that. You wanted to say yum. Let me teach you. Yum starts at the top. Eyes on. Look, this is yum.
Yum.
Yum. You wanted to say yum.
Yum. Yum.
Yum. To me, the goal for Matthew is to confidently, functionally, and proudly communicate.
Through giving him a way to communicate, we've decreased behaviors tremendously. I would say start off with the pitch exchange communication system. Once he got to having 4 to 6 pictures on the front of his PECS book, it's like, you know what, we can take it up another level. As his mom, you know, my expectations have always been really high. I'm like, we're going to maximize Matthew's potential. He can, you know, and we truly do believe that he will be able to talk.
We will never say that a child won't talk. He absolutely may talk. But right now, he has this.
Like.
You like music? Yeah, let's do music.
Just because he's nonverbal does not mean he doesn't have a lot to say.
More.
More. It's more.
Wow, it's giving him a voice.
Thank you. I love that video because it shows, it really gives a chance for us to see, I feel like, good intervention happening. I love that they're kind of following his lead. They're providing lots of communication opportunities. They're using important words that matter all day. You know, because the reality is, like, they, in that task, taught him the word go, right? Like, as he's going down, right? But I'm sure, honestly, knowing that school, they are also teaching him go when they go to the bathroom. They're teaching him go when they go to art, go on the bus, go home, you know, go away if a peer's bothering them, right? You know, the reality is we need to teach our kids how to use assistive technology and use those words, but use them so that they can use them flexibly to think of exactly what they want to say, okay? And I think that's, or say, go home, you know, like your kids after several days in conference, I'm sure they're, unless, you know, I'm guessing if they're not sleeping great, they're ready to go home, right? So being able to use that flexibly, you know, is really, really important, okay? Or where are we going? Getting a chance to do that, okay? In that video, Sarah Beth Shaw was kind of talking about no matter what the activity is, she's not teaching a whole phrase, okay, in that instance. She's not saying, I want cookie, please. I want bathroom, please. I want more, please, okay? Because the reality is, do you all talk like that? Does anybody talk like that all day? No, right? We don't talk like that. You know, there's times where, you know, if a waiter came over or a waitress came over and said, hey, would you like more? You would say, yes, I would love some, please, you know, or something like that. But we don't put please on the end of everything. You know, we don't. And I think it's really important to teach kids. You know, I'm fine with teaching some social scripts like, hi, how are you? What's up or what's new? Those are, it would be weird if I didn't do that when I met you for the first time. But after that, I need to be teaching single words because the reality is we, again, say exactly what we're thinking using our own individual words. And I am sure after several days at a conference, you too, not any 2 people in here are thinking the exact same thing. Like you might be thinking about the O's game, you might be thinking about, you know, how your child's doing if they're in daycare. Like there's lots of different things running through your mind. But I bet they're not the exact same thing. And the way that you would say them aren't exactly the same either, okay? So single words, this is why it's important. We could say again, go again, let's go again, don't go again, okay? Single words are also really important because we can put an auditory prompt or an auditory output with each single word, and that's how natural language is learned, okay? When you think of normal language development or traditional language development, a child doesn't just pop out of the womb and start speaking in sentences. They say up, and what does mom do? She picks them up, right? Okay? She doesn't say, mommy, pick me up, please. Like, that doesn't happen, okay? Although I feel like kids are kind of popping out of the womb now saying, iPad, please, like almost. Getting close to that, right? But most of the time, right, we learn language as single words. And as adults, if you all start a new job and you're learning some particular new system or you're learning additional things, you're still learning single words, okay? Like the word Google for the adults in the room, like Google didn't exist. Like that wasn't a word, right? And now we have Google as the search engine. We have Googling, which is now a verb, right? I was Googling that, okay? We have tons of different ways of how we have Google, Drive, as from an educational platform. We have all those different things, but we're still using Google as a single word, okay? And now I can use it flexibly. So we need to be thinking about that for our kids too, okay? We're going to talk about the fact that phrases are quick, so that seems easier, but they're really rigid. So if you fill your child's communication device with phrases only, or almost all phrases, it's really not going to let them think of their own thought. It's going to be whatever somebody pre-stored on there. And I'm all for having some really fast, quick phrases. Trust me, I'm all like, hey, what's up? How are you? I need to go to the bathroom. Like important ones, I'm phrase it up. But for the average actual day, we don't just keep saying those same things over and over again. We use language flexibly, okay? Which is why we need access to single words. When we're looking at why core words, Sarah Breath was talking about this. You guys can just holler out, okay? A little audience participation. What are some words you have not said today? Hibernate, scaffolding, Paul Revere. Yep. All right. So it's cylinder, and can you guys find the other one? So we have cylinder, hibernate, Paul Revere, scaffolding. Jupiter. Okay. Has anyone said Jupiter today? Well, aside from this activity, yes. Sorry, I didn't hear you earlier. Thank you for saying that, though. All right. So when we're looking and getting our teachers and our speech therapists to buy into the fact we need to be targeting important words all day, okay? It is one of those things that you as a parent have to advocate for, because not all speech pathologists have been trained in the fact that you need to be targeting important words. And I know that seems kind of silly, but I left grad school not knowing that. And I went to a great undergrad and grad school, and I still didn't leave knowing that I needed to be targeting other words besides Paul Revere, okay? So all those other words that are on the screen, besides the ones you mentioned, all the ones in green are considered core vocabulary words. Core vocabulary words are a group of words that make up 80% of what we say in a day. They are tremendously important. And I will tell you, most of the time, speech pathologists, special ed teachers, instructional assistants do not target them. And I didn't for a number of years until I learned I should. Okay, we do what we know. So when they don't know to do that, they're not going to do it. But from that perspective, they will, hands down, put up a picture of Paul Revere and ask your child to identify that from the story instead of like targeting the word help. Like Paul Revere actually helped, right? Like that's what he did. He helped them, okay? So how many times again, like when we're thinking of and they were in trouble, like, right? That's what we know about Paul Revere, right? He helped when there was a time of trouble. So one of the things that I think is really important is no matter what your child's targeting from an academic standpoint, at home, across anything, you could be targeting those important core vocabulary words, which will lead to the language that you and I have, okay? If you only target words like hibernate, scaffolding, Paul Revere, vase, chair, umbrella, table, okay? Has anyone said umbrella today? But I'll tell you a ton of, that's one of those things. It's like, the reason we target those words are they're really good picture producers. I can put a picture with that word. I can, you can totally put a picture with the word umbrella easily, right? But you can't necessarily put such a good picture with the word do or that or like, right? Because you might like Starbucks, but you might like Ocean City, or you might like taking long walks, and hiking. That's what you like. So what you like looks different, like in your head, okay? So from that perspective, we often don't put a picture with those words or target those words really well because they're not good picture producers, all right? So I will say, core vocab, again, it's words, tiny little words like it, like that, play, see, do, all those tiny little words that make up 80% of what we say, but also tons of what we read and write, okay? Try writing an email without saying the word I, or it, or that, or the. Like, try doing it. You will not be able to successfully do it for very long, or it will be very frustrating to try to actually say that, okay? Say what you want to say. The other 20% of what we say are noun-based, typically, and they're very specific to an environment. So, like when I go to Starbucks, I love a mocha latte, so that's what I would order there. If I go to the beach, I want Thrasher's French fries. So that's the noun I want in that particular environment. Aside from being at the beach, I never say Thrasher's French fries. Like, I don't ever say it unless I'm there. Okay, it's that same kind of thing. So those 20% of what we say are very specific to you and your child and the environment that they're in. All right, so I always say a communication device out of the box should have that 80% of what they need and should have a ton of the other 20% too. But the 20% that's really important to them, like the word Rebecca, if that's my sister's name, and I always want to be able to say Rebecca when I'm at home, Rebecca makes up part of my 20%. Does that make sense? If your child loves Elmo, that's part of their 20%. Okay? That's the specific noun based on that specific situation. Okay? So I'm going to show you a quick video of Claire. She's adorable. Hopefully it plays. Might have to go out. But she's using a ton of core vocabulary in this, and I want you guys to be thinking about how you view her as a communicator. Is she communicating pretty well? Is she a struggling communicator? How is she doing? Like, do you feel like she can get her thoughts across? Okay?
Hi, Mommy. Hi, Mommy. I just want to say happy birthday. I guess a great day, Mommy. I love you so much. That's why we said why. Why I love you. Number one, you are beautiful. Number two, you are amazing. Number three, best mommy ever. Number four. Number four. Four. You best cook. I will be with you. You work so hard. With you is fine. Are you ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mommy. Happy birthday to you. I love you. Bye-bye.
All right, so thank you so much. So what do you guys think about her? Give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. How would you rate her as can she get across what she wants to say, or she's struggling? Yeah, I agree. I think she's getting across what she wants to say, right? She's commenting, she's reporting a problem. I miss you when you're gone, right? Like, she's reporting her feelings. She's doing lots of great things, okay? She's complimenting her. She's doing lots of awesome things, okay? I want those same things to be happening for the kids for your children as well. And the only way that you're gonna be able to give that to the kids that are in this room or that are in another neighboring room is if they have access to core vocabulary and you've taught it to them and the teachers have taught it to them and the speech pathologists have taught it to them. They need it over and over and over again. Kids learn typically, or they hear a baby. There's a couple adorable babies running around here, or not running around here, they're being held. But they will typically hear 8,000 words in the first year of life every single day just by their mom alone. 8,000 words per day in the first year of life before they're expected to say their first word. Okay? Kids with AAC devices are handed this device. If somebody evaluated them, gave them this lovely talking box, and it's like, okay, now tell me go, tell me play, tell me, and they don't know how to use this. They don't know where the words are. They don't know how to generalize it yet. They haven't been taught. Okay, so just because they have the talking box doesn't mean that they know how to be effective with communication, and I think that's our job. Everybody in this room and everybody that's supporting our kids, our job is going to be how to help build that capacity and teach those important words. And teach those important words, okay? That's really important. One of the things that I think everybody should kind of just keep in mind in considering, and we're certainly not the only people, PRC is known for they're like, oh, you're the motor planning people, or, they'll call me like, you're the motor planning speech therapist. And I am, but because I see it work. I see consistency work with kids. So motor planning for us, Unity, say that vocabulary, and there's other device manufacturers who do this too. But PRC was the first to really tap into motor planning, and they've been doing it for decades. But motor planning is just basically like what you're doing on your keyboard, right? Things stay constant. Your space bar's not moving. It stays. Where's your space bar? Down low, right? Where are your numbers? They're up high. Enter's off to the right. Like those numbers and those letters don't move around. So it's crazy to me that we're actually taking kids' devices and moving things around all the time. That's crazy to me. I don't think kids can become fast, efficient communicators when that's happening. So I think that's really important to consider. So for those of you, hopefully it's not too small in the back, I want you to just take out your finger, okay? Everybody who can. And I want you to spell your name in the top keyboard. Just using your finger, so I'm Elizabeth, so I'm gonna E-L-I. Okay, do yours. Okay, once you're done, I want you to do the same thing in the bottom keyboard. Okay, how many of you starting to get frustrated? Yeah, okay. This is what it's like when the screens are constantly changing and there's no predictability, okay? You're changing up their QWERTY. You're messing up their QWERTY keyboard all the time, and I think that's something to just kind of keep in mind. So no matter what the tool is that your child has, there are ways to make it better by keeping things more consistent, and that might require programming, or that might require going to a different tool. But I think a lot of kids, if they're struggling and they're not making a lot of progress, I think this is often the reason. Once we actually get this part stable, I see kids really take off and thrive, okay? All right. When you're also thinking about if your keyboard changed frequently, so you're at the QWERTY and then all of a sudden you go to this kind of craziness, okay? How fast would you be? How efficient would you be? Okay, would you want to pitch the device, right? If when you guys get a new phone and all your special apps aren't in their spot that they normally were in, right? It's so frustrating. You're like, wait a minute, where is it? You have to scan and do all of that, right? That's what it's like for our kids, but I feel like that's kind of like their daily frustration, okay? So communication should be as simple and fun and easy as possible. It shouldn't be we shouldn't be making it more complicated, okay, than it needs to be. All right, using assistive technology is already hard, right? It's already slower. I cannot do it as fast as I'm doing talking, so it's already got its disadvantages. So we need to make it as easy and as user-friendly as possible for that child and the support team that's working with them too, so that they're not having to constantly visually scan and things like that too. Okay, we're gonna kind of dive into implementation and talk about really the keys to success. So we kind of talked about looking at a variety of assistive technology tools. Now we're gonna really talk about once they have a tool, or this is good if your child doesn't have a tool and you're like, okay, well, once we get them a tool, or you can use some of the strategies, whether it's a low-tech board or some other tools that you might have at your in your back pocket, or email me and I'll be happy to send you some laminated and ready to go. I would be happy to do that. But looking at some implementation strategies, communication is not meant, a child doesn't have assistive technology so that they can just repeat back what I want them to say, right? They don't have it, so it's a parrot device. It's not meant to just, I want you to say go, so say go. It's meant that they can say whatever's on their mind and get that out. And that took me a long time as a speech pathologist because I really wanted to teach them XYZ words. And so when they said something else, I was like, what the heck, I'm trying to do, and I really need to honor that. And I missed that as a clinician initially, when they would say something else, or I thought that was wrong, or like, oh, they got it wrong. And I'm like, nope, they just wanted to direct the conversation in another way. And that's not wrong. That's actually what we do, right, all the time. If I'm having a conversation with you and you're like, okay, I'm done this, I want to switch gears, right? They may not have the words yet to say, hey, by the way, which is what we would do. Oh, that got me thinking about, they just start talking about spaghetti, or they talk about something else because they're hungry and that's what they want, or that's where they want to go tonight, okay? Does that make sense? So when we're looking at communication devices, the child has it for communication, not compliance. And this is something, I feel like always a hot button topic because I work with lots of schools who use ABA as well. And I think ABA is fantastic for helping to promote behavioral changes. I don't necessarily firmly believe that it helps lead to language growth and flexibility for children. In traditional means it's done. So I definitely think you need a combination of certainly promoting appropriate behaviors, but you also need to be using their assistive technology tool to promote communication, okay? So instead of saying like, what color is this, and giving them every time they take out or they have their device, I'm testing them on it, instead of it being like, that's a compliance-based task, okay? Instead of doing that, I'm saying, hey, what color do you want? And they say purple, I have the opportunity to teach. I can give them the purple crayon, I can give them the purple shirt, I can teach them what that purple is, right? It doesn't have to just be, tell me green, what is this? Yellow. I think there's lots of opportunities that we can be teaching communication and promoting that. I don't know if you've ever worked with a child or seen a child use assistive technology, but they're like hovering over a button and look up at you. Okay, they're doing that in a lot of instances because they have been drilled and tested to death on that tool, or whatever tool it was, and they don't have this like easy breezy, like I actually value what you have to say. Every time typically that tool's been used, it's been more of a testing kind of situation. Or tell me go, or tell me gummy, and I'll give you a gummy. There's a right and a wrong answer. And I don't think that's really healthy. If I asked everybody to take out their phones right now, and I gave you a test, and I said, put it away, take it back out, I'm gonna give you another test. Take it away, put it out. Do you think you'd wanna use your phone if I just tested you on it? You wouldn't, the reality is you wouldn't want to use it. So I think that's one of those things we need to be using, or keeping in mind. We want to be keeping in mind that we want to be promoting communication, okay, and language growth. One of the ways that you can kind of make sure that that isn't happening and that your teachers aren't just testing on the devices, or that you're not just testing on the device, is by doing lots and lots of modeling on their device, okay? My rule of thumb is if you think of your hand, you show it, show it, show it, show it, and then have the child do, okay? That's actually fair. If you think about what's happening in classrooms all across the US, the teacher doesn't just walk in and pop up an algebra problem and say, do it, right? She teaches it, she breaks it down, she shows it again, she might show a video of doing it, and then she'll have the kids do it. And I think are there any teachers in the room? Yeah, okay, right? So, yay! But when you're teaching a concept, you don't, whether it's math, reading, writing, so you're not just teaching it the one time. You show it, you show it, you show it, you show it. You really are providing that instruction before you expect that child to do it, okay? So that's something really important to keep in mind. For modeling on the devices, that just means you need to touch the device a lot as you're talking. So you don't need to, you need to be, if you say, hey, we're gonna go to the bathroom, touch the word go. We're gonna go get on the bus, you touch the word go. We're gonna go to Arby's, you touch the word go. We're gonna go to McDonald's, you touch the word go. You're gonna go to the playground. It's not time to go, not go. And I'm gonna teach that too, okay? So I'm giving them a chance to see that over and over again. I'm gonna do some fun toys that we might go. We might play the chase game and they go and I go catch them, those kind of things. It gives me lots of opportunities to teach that, okay? Before I'm expecting the child to then do it. Make sense? Okay. So one of the things that we wanna be doing is building that success. So we have some built-in things, and other device manufacturers have them too, so kind of keeping this in mind. I always want to maximize a child's vocabulary. So if you counted up those number of cells, I can tell just kind of by the way it looks, there's 45 cells on that screen, okay? If this had been recommended by a speech pathologist, I'm hoping she maxed them out, which means she literally systematically had them kind of do a couple things to figure out what size they could handle. Could they handle really tiny icons and do like 144 cells or 84 cells? Or did they really do best from a vision standpoint, a touch standpoint, an eye gaze standpoint, whatever, with 45, okay? Our devices go everywhere from 4 cells up to 144, and lots of device manufacturers have that flexibility. But it shouldn't just be, because I'm the speech therapist, I'm recommending 45 one hit because that's what I like. It's what I know. It's what I used last week with another kid, so I'm just gonna put your child on that too, because it seemed to work well. Like, it shouldn't be arbitrarily chosen. It should be unique to that child and what they can physically do, okay? And some of you guys got a chance to play some games on my device earlier that let you figure out exactly how many cells a child can handle, okay? The AAC evaluators that PRC folks are gonna recommend are gonna do things like that. They're strategic. They're not just randomly putting them on something because it's the vocabulary that they know, all right? So one of the things that I like, this vocabulary here, this is Unity 45 one hit, but you can see there aren't 45, there's 45 buttons, but there's not 45 pictures on there. So I can target these words and really focus a child in, but then I can build language around it without having to move those words. Okay, does that make sense? So like the word, see if I know how to use the pointer. Up, up, up. Okay, yep. Sorry, not mine. So like the word go, oh, Snapdragon. Sorry, that's my version of a curse word. Okay, the word go right there, or the word stop, okay? They're never gonna move for that child. They're never gonna change. They're always gonna stay there. I can just build additional words around it, okay? Which is great. So like in Unity, the example is like the word want would stay here, but the choices for what they want would pop up in this top row. So this, their QWERTY, never moves, never changes, it stays constant. And then this top row would be the part that I might customize, because you know what you're gonna want is gonna be different from what someone else wants, okay? But those words would stay constant. All right, what I'm kind of showing you in that is using vocabulary builder. So this is a great thing. This is a good thing to ask, like, is this gonna have the ability to hide icons? If a child's kind of all over the place and is hitting a bunch of things and just not really making a lot of progress with their communication device, being able to hide some things and really focus them in can really help improve that, okay? Giving kids time to explore on the device where they do have everything, I think is also important. So, you know, you focus them in, say 10 words, and then open it up so that they could have tons of time to explore and check on things too, okay? A lot of kids, when they're playing video games, and some of you guys have kids that are probably amazing with their iPad, okay? You probably didn't have to sit down and teach them how to play that game. They just played around with it and finally figured it out. Hi. You do? Let me see.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. I like your game. I bet nobody had to teach you that. I bet you just explored it on your own, okay? Part of that is being able to just explore the communication device, and if they say the word awesome, then you respond, awesome, yeah, you are awesome. Or they say under, oh, let's see if there's something under the table, and you start putting intent to what they're saying. Those are all teachable moments, and they need to have a chance to actually see language in action. When they say it, like what they're saying on their device, you value it, and you're gonna be acknowledging it, okay? Giving that immediate feedback, and I think I left all my toys in my bag, but I think is great. Like I'll do balloons, and they'll say more, and I get a chance to like fill the air up or fill a balloon up with more, and they say more again, and I'm filling it up with even more, and they say go, and I'm going to let it fly around the room. They're getting a chance to see language happen, and they're getting that immediate feedback, okay? It should be fun. Your child should be having fun when they are learning language. And when you're working on the device or tool, if it doesn't feel fun to you or it feels frustrating to you, it really feels frustrating to your child, okay? And I tell that to speech therapists all the time that I've mentored and that I train all the time. It should feel really fun and engaging, okay? Because people learn best when we're motivated, we're engaged, we're having fun, and we have opportunities for success. So if I'm working with a child, that one vocabulary I just showed you with the 45 cells, if I had every single word up there, I'm probably not setting them up for an opportunity for success. I probably need to, that's why I use Vocabulary Builder, so I could focus them in, provide that instruction, and set them up for success, okay? One of the things that I always say, and John Halloran is in the bottom corner, and he developed the LAMP approach, which is what the therapist was using in the video. She's following the child's lead. She's doing LAMP. If you ever get a chance to attend a LAMP training, they're all around the U.S. You can email me and I'll send you the links for any that would be in your territory. It's a game changer as a parent. It's a game changer as a speech therapist. I feel like everybody leaves having a really good understanding of how to therapeutically teach language and make it fun and be able to do it every day in your home and in the classroom and across their day. So, but John Halloran's the person who created the LAMP approach, him and his wife, Cindy. And he said this to me always, always build on the passions, never extinguish them. So, I didn't previously know a ton about children with 1p36 deletion syndrome, but I will say, there's definitely some trends. Kids like to move. I'm seeing lots of kids who like to move, right? I'm seeing lots of kids who are really, they have a lot to share. They're definitely, seeking you out. They're trying to gain attention, and everybody's a little bit different, but they're trying to gain attention. They just might not necessarily have the language to do that, hey, what are you doing? What do you have there? I want to see too. Look at me or play with me. They might not have the language to do that yet, but I can kind of tell they have some type of intent that's happening, okay? Whether they're bringing me over to look at their iPad or they want to play a ball with me, those are their kids' passions. And I think one of the things that we need to kind of keep in mind is we do need to try to build on those passions whenever possible. So if the example I give, if you have a child who really loves to move, and they're in a stroller, I can have them just say on their communication device, go and stop. If I have a child who's walking or ambulatory, I might be able to say, okay, we're gonna go on a walk, because they really like to walk, and they can tell me right, left, turn, go, stop, fast, slow. I get a chance to actually have them tell me a variety of different words. Should we take big steps versus little steps? Do you want to hold my hand, or do you want to go by yourself? It gives them the chance to actually, I'm using their passion, but I'm infusing lots more language around it, okay? I think providing communication opportunities is really important, and then teaching multiple meaning words. So we talked about that a lot today, the examples of go and things like that. Sometimes as parents, I think it's really important, you may know what your child wants, or be able to guess it in lots of instances. So instead of saying, do you want to listen to music, or do you want your iPad? Saying, what do you want to do? What are you thinking? Okay, asking more open-ended questions, because it lets them tell you using their own words what they want, versus you giving it basically a yes or no. That's not necessarily promoting language growth. Does that make sense? Okay. And obviously giving kids time to respond. I think, that model, and then give them time, give some wait time. But be an expectant communication partner. Push that device toward them, or low-tech board, whatever they're using. I'm expecting you to tell me something back. I'm waiting for you. And if they get stuck, you certainly can help kind of direct them to what they might want to communicate. But give them that wait time so that they can have a chance to process what you said. Okay. And then in the video, they talked about language is more than requesting. It's so important that we're targeting more than just wants and needs, because I want kids to be able to say their wants and needs. So, want more, want stop, want bathroom, want to eat, want to drink. But beyond that, in order to have relationships, good, solid relationships with people, I need more language and all those other functions, okay? So I think that's really imperative that we're doing that. And if this is just a little sample of what a 13-month was saying, okay, and they're saying lots of different things. They're commenting, uh-oh. They're asking for more of something. They're saying the word that, they're saying hi, bye. They're doing those, and they do have a bunch of nouns there too, but they're doing a variety of language functions, okay? My rule of thumb as an SLP is always to use wisdom and not frustrate, all right? Our goal is to not, if I'm trying to encourage language on a communication device, my goal is to decrease behaviors, not increase them, okay? So don't make communication harder or more frustrating. They don't need to say it in a full, complete sentence in order to have it honored. Please don't make them do that, okay? I'm gonna ask you a question. I want everybody to just shout out your answer. If you go to a restaurant and I'm the waitress and I say, what's your favorite drink? What is it? What's your favorite drink? What do you want? Okay. You did not say it in a complete sentence, so you don't get it. We don't, that's not normal. We all talk in lots, a lot of times the things that we say are one or two words. How are you? I'm good. It's not, I am good, how are you? It's I'm good, as I'm crossing lots of people. Between now and the time I leave this building, people will interact with me, just random strangers, and whether we're on the elevator, in the hall, whatever, and they'll be like, hi, how are you? And I'm like, I'm good. How are you? I will have just a quick, exchange, okay? We need to be thinking of that with our kids too. If our kids ever say anything with their mouth, or they start to try to vocalize, whether it's a sound or a syllable, or they do say it with their mouth, don't make them double do. Don't make them also say it on their communication device, and vice versa. It's a great opportunity if they say it with their mouth and say, Dad, you understood, but Grandma didn't. It's a great opportunity to show them on the device where the word is, but I'm not gonna necessarily make them say it because they said it with their mouth. Does that make sense? I'm not making them double do. When you say email me, I'm not also gonna make you text me too. I'm gonna respond to your email, right? So it's that same kind of thing. We need to not be frustrating our kids, okay? And we wanna make them want to use the device, not feel like this is painful, okay? So just in wrapping up, some goals to have, I'm seeing the kids that I'm seeing take off with language. Their school teams are starting to incorporate the use of core vocabulary in almost all their goals, which is really exciting to see. They're also asking for a variety of parts of speech in their goals. They're asking for language functions. So instead of saying they will name the character of the book, they will identify the main character by using pronouns, right? Because I'm doing a book, it's Samantha and Tom this week. That goes away. Now it's Jill and Brenda. And if I have to program Jill and Brenda in their device and then it's gone, does it make sense? Why it's who was that angry person in the character? He was. Who was the sweet lady? She was, or whatever. I'm getting a chance to use that. So it's just about semantics and how it's targeting the same kind of thing, right? By saying he was, he was upset. They're showing me they know what it is. It just, they don't need to name that proper noun, okay? But one, he was nice to me, if I said, if you came home and your child was, how was your day? He was nice to me, and that could be, or, we went store, and that was where they went on the community trip or whatever. It just gives them a chance to actually use those words that matter all the time versus, those proper nouns that are situation specific. It also helps kids be able to negate, one of the things for parents, if your child has the word stop down, they already have that word, they know the word stop, teach them other negation words, I'm finished, all done, enough, okay? Enough. Teach them enough. Don't do. Don't you go away. Teach them a variety of ways to negate, because I think that's really important. Teach them I'm bored. Because like the reality is they might be bored with that same assignment that they've had in school and they've made them do a bazillion times. Like, I'm bored, that's why I want to stop. Not just stop, because they think they're like wanting to get out of it, but it's like, if you actually can teach them I'm bored, like, wow, like they, like, okay, wow, thanks for telling me you're bored. We'll stop this, you know? I think it gets honored a lot more too, okay? And it can also help with self-regulation and all those important sensory needs as well. Okay, so initial keys to success, I do think you need a good tool. I think you need good intervention. And as I said, people do what they know, so tap into the resources you have. And, I'm more than happy to link you with PRC people in your territory that provide free trainings. I provide, like I was telling family, this last week I've worked with so many families that I saw in the spring, and I'm back working with their summer providers or gearing up their new school team for training. So, which is fairly unique to PRC. We do provide that ongoing support for free, which I think is great. But people do, as your people change, they need training, and I think that's a big deal. So, and most parents don't want to be that trainer. Like, they're like, I'm fine implementing it, but I don't want to go in and train the entire school team. Like, that's a big responsibility. So. I think you do need good tools, good intervention, and I think that can lead to great outcomes for those kids, okay? Just to let you guys know, you can find me if you ever lose my card, and I have brochures on the back table. I'm here to be as a resource to you, so whether you ever have a PRC device or not, if you're just like, hey, I'd love to have a speech therapist just to be able to bounce this idea off of, I'm happy to be a resource to you and your children that you're as well. So a couple other things, if you ever want to do any online trainings, they're free. There's a ton of free online trainings. There's some that are paid for that are very like specific to certain things. But we have a great one, no matter what device you have. It's called AAC in the Home. For parents from parents, and it's a great online tool. It used to be we used to have make people pay for it, and now it's available free. It's on demand, so you can watch it in your PJs and get a chance to kind of have some ideas of really implementing AAC at home as well. And there's a ton of free trainings on there for your teacher staff too. So here's some extra resources. My handout is online for any of you those who would like to have those as resources. And there's my contact info if you need me. So thank you so much, and happy talking.